Hello there, boys and girls. I would just like to let everyone know that we're back, officially. And I've said it many times. We've said that we've got the camera sorted many times and everything's sorted. And each time we have, but then we hadn't. I just want to stress, this time we have got it sorted. The cameras are in, and it's on a very special episode. This is a guest that we've wanted to have on since we created the podcast. It was probably the best chat we've had on the podcast. But I just want to let everyone know there was an issue with Joel's mic up until the 36-minute mark. And then from then on, it gets even better. So hang in there. I listened to it. I think it's pretty good. So hang in there and enjoy.
Welcome back to the Industry Standards Podcast. This is episode 36 of 100,000. You're here with Jamie Smith and the boys, and we're rolling.
That's epic.
Is that it?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
How many people have done that? I feel like you've just thrown me under the bus.
No. We've had a lot of people do it. Stupid did it.
Yeah, Subs did it.
University did it. Everyone does.
The cameras were cooked to that one. We say literally every episode, we finally got the camera sorted.
And then they don't.
Yeah, but no, I think we've literally got it sorted now. But I've also said that many times.
Yeah.
That's all right.
Yeah.
Knock on wood that it works.
So, Jamie, one of our favourite segments for this podcast is it's called the Mood Meter.
The mood meter.
Yeah, so what we do, we count down to the end of 3, and then we all just say what mood we're in. So 10 is the best mood, and
10.
1 is the shittest mood.
Yeah.
So we'll go 3, 2, 1, and we'll all just say the number.
All right.
And then sometimes someone's clearly in a bit of a mood.
Yeah, there's like, we can do like accusations before we do it.
Oh, well,
I don't think we'll do one. I don't think anyone's like clearly in a mood right now. But like,
Sometimes I'm in a huge mood.
Before we say the numbers, I'm gonna be like, you're gonna be a lower number than me.
Oh, all right. All right. So 1 is the shittest mood possible. What, like, could be like anger or just like upset?
Yeah,
or
whatever.
Just down
overall
down vibes. I think a vibe meter's better.
That's kind of what it is.
Yeah, I think mood is too. You can have too many moods. This is vibe.
Here's a good example of
what's the vibe meter?
Vibes could be 10, but I could be of a 6 before I walked in here.
And then
therefore the mood meter.
And the mood meter makes sense.
Yeah,
Sorry, I won't take over.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Back to the mood meter.
All right. So just let us know when you've got your number.
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah.
All right.
Wait, hang on. Well, if it changes with the environment, is it my mood before you came or right now? All right. Because I've elevated.
Yes.
Big time.
No, but we'll talk about it after we've said the number.
All right.
3, 2, 1,
10.
9.
10.
A 10?
I'm the lowest.
Oh my god.
We've never had a 10. Pathetic. 5 and going low.
3, 2.
A 10.
No, a 10. Yeah.
That's the best.
Yeah, we had a really good chat before, and I'm G'd up. I'm grateful of my life at the moment. I'm G'd up.
Yes.
I'm a 9 now.
Yeah.
Yes.
Before
That's
you guys
epic.
came, there's a new toasted sandwich shop around the corner. Just
let's
opened
go
up, and
there.
we went in there. Me and Emil went in there, and we got a Birra toasted cheese sandwich with 3 cheeses in there and a dipping sauce and 2 hash browns. And then we split a chicken one. So before you guys came, I was in a slump. I would probably give him like a 4 before. So maybe I'm not actually a 10. I just came up from a 4, and it feels like a big change.
No, you're a 10. We'll take the 10. Yeah.
But honestly, I'm a 10. I'm firing.
Yeah.
I'm ready to go.
Yes. So, yeah, okay. I've got a bit of a thing with 10s. Like, 10 is huge. Like, something else apart from this is good has to happen to you today for it to be a 10.
Yeah, that's just had a sandwich.
Yeah,
But I think I'm
wanna
a
go to
10
that
because
shop.
it was so low prior.
Yeah. Interesting.
So can I change mine?
Oh,
I'm going to go
nah.
at 9.5 because I'm probably...
Nah, I really want Jay Smith to hold the 10 on this podcast.
I'll take a 10.
9.5's epic.
10 out of 10.
An 8? Yeah. Wow. I thought I was being like...
Yeah.
I thought I was being cool saying...
Yeah.
Pathetic, man. You
Yeah.
came in with that.
Cool. Well, let's crack into things.
I like the mood meter.
It's good. It's
The
my
vibe
favourite
check.
one.
It's really good when someone's in a bad mood. Dude, there's one podcast we did and I think it's the worst mood I've ever seen Dylan in.
Yeah.
Like, when we're working. Like, he literally was like, I'm not podcasting. He's like, I'm not podcasting in this mood. I've never seen him. He was just so dismissive, just like absolutely like adamant we were not going to do anything. And I just forced him like, mate, we'll get something out, we'll do a quick thing, blah, blah, blah. The cameras weren't working and it just...
I was furious.
What was your number?
4. It was a 4.
He was he was in a foul
It's not
mood.
too bad. 4's almost average, man. 5's an average.
Yeah, it wasn't...
Nah, 6 is like an average.
6
6,
is
7.
average, right?
2, I reckon. Anyways, the podcast ended with him in tears laughing. Like,
Only at the end, because he said a funny joke, and that's it.
he didn't even hear it. He got me to repeat it.
And that was it.
And I said it again.
Can you say it? See if we
The joke, I'll never forget what my grandpa said to me before he kicked the bucket. He turned to me and he said, Joel, how far do you reckon I can kick this bucket? It's not that good a joke.
That's good.
It's good.
Right.
Yeah.
He was literally for like minutes just like
That's good. I like that.
weeping. It's so funny.
That's good.
That was the best turnaround of a mood in any.
Did your grandpa actually say that?
I just made a joke out of his death.
Yeah.
Do you want to start off?
Yeah.
For the questions.
Yeah, no, I guess I'll intro as well. So,
True.
yeah, we've got Jamie Smith. Huh?
Can I just say, Jamie Smith's on. I think when we started this podcast, you were like
Number 1.
the number one person we wanted to get on here.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Fucking oath. Thanks, boys.
Yeah. So here he is.
You've had a
Why
huge...
is that?
Well, let me intro. Yeah, so I guess I told you via message, but when I first got exposed to Melbourne strength culture, I was watching like YouTube videos, and that's what you do as a PT. You just spend hundreds of hours just watching YouTube videos, Nippard videos, Israel videos. That's
Yeah,
what
you got a
get.
lot of time between your only one client. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just to fill up with random shit.
No, or I'm eating breakfast and I just want to learn like how much muscle should I grow each week, just stuff like that.
Yeah.
And like the strength culture videos came up, and it was just one of.
Do you remember which one it was?
Oh, it was a training vlog. It was it was years ago. I'll try and find it. Did he have like a beanie on? He was just talking something simple about like a warm up.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking like, oh, these guys are pretty standard. Like they got a good brand, but like this is pretty standard. And then, and then I started
Real
coaching.
beige takes.
Yeah. Like just real simple. Yeah,
run-of-the-mill
And I'm
takes.
like, I'm not getting much here from this, and that's what I thought. And then like,
My mood's dropping.
no, I already told you this. I already told you this. And then I started
3.
coaching with Jason, and then I was just talking about like how to get more knowledge, more education, and he said you have to do the internship.
Yeah.
And that's when. Oh no! And then I I bought one of the $100 like deadlifting seminar tickets. Then I started Calm, and then I started to get exposed. Hadn't heard from you directly yet, just from Didier, and then all that sort of stuff. And then, yeah, I got accepted into the internship, and then it was
What
just
year did you do the internship? Do you
the
remember?
last one. The last one.
Were you
Oh,
here?
actually, sorry, James Grove.
No, were you here?
Yeah.
You were at this gym or the old gym?
No,
Your
here.
one. Your one
now,
was this
now
gym?
my mood's dropping.
No, was it this gym?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. So it was in
the
the
last one. Number 8, I think.
22. Might have been 21.
Nah, I think 22.
Coaching in 20.
No way you've only been around for 2 years. In our circles.
Yeah.
Man, I would have thought it was like 4. My whole time has COVID ruined my understanding of what... I don't even remember what years COVID were. Like, I always have to, like, double check.
Maybe it,
Day was like,
Because it's
oh,
COVID-19, but it wasn't 2019. It was
Yeah.
2020.
Yeah. So the other day was like, oh yeah, it was like the start of COVID, so 2021. I was like,
Yeah.
that's the end.
Yeah, so you weren't at the old gym.
nah.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
fucking wild. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the only reason I forget who was in which there was a 2-year patch there where I was void of any desire to work,
Yeah.
and there was people around that I just was like, that's a very muddy area
Yeah.
of my career,
Yeah.
I would say.
I was with Ash.
I
And-
chatted with Ash yesterday.
Oh, and Nick.
Oh
Yeah.
that one. Yep, that group.
Yeah, the 2 faves.
Yeah, nah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Anyway, and then like, yeah, just I had no idea what to expect, and then you just like every week I'm like, wow, like just knowledge dropping, but it's to such a high level. And that's when I like really admired you and your vibe. It was like, you know, just chill, talking shit, training, but then like your knowledge about just coaching as a whole and principles and life views. I was like, wow, this brings everything into coaching, and it's just so well thought out, and there's no holes in it.
Yeah.
And it was just so freeing once you got taught principles. I went, oh, and then that's when you start feeling a little bit more superior to other coaches, because you're like, they're talking about the wrong things.
Yeah.
They're getting caught up in the details. Anyway, and it just happened more and more and more. And then like the BPS week, that was wicked. My jaw just dropped, and I was like, "This is crazy."
We'll be coming back.
Yeah.
Like every week. It's like, bro, when BPS happened,
The BPS put me in the hole when I learned about the BPS. That I lost all of my confidence that anything that we were doing mattered. And I've now got an understanding of like the nihilistic view of coaching that ultimately none of it does matter. It's just the client's enjoyment of the process is what you're trying to nurture and create. And the adherence being a key principle of just most coaches. Like, the BPS thing, because I was heavily biomechanical prior to, and it was actually an old intern, Josh Hannell. I was teaching him fucking all this shoulder stuff that I'd learned from Cressy, and then he, after the session once, he was like, does this actually like matter that much? And I was like, yeah, man, matters heaps. And then he sent me a barbell medicine blog. Oh, this was like early days, 2018. And I read this barbell medicine blog around pain and this BPS thing, and like I hadn't been exposed to it yet. And then it just like put me in a shell. I was like, fuck, everything I'm teaching these people doesn't fucking matter. But I've now come full circle and I see how it all pieces together now. And I'm back in my biomechanics fucking wormhole. Yeah.
But I remember telling you that when we were playing golf, and I was just like, dude. And then you're like, yeah, you've gone deep.
Yeah, that's what
And then-
happened. It's good though.
yeah.
It's a journey. You got to
And then
swing
you're like,
through.
you'll come back.
You'll
out
come
the
back.
other way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, just like it's important to recognize why and who you admire. But yeah, just like super competent. And that's what I want to be like. Yeah, one day as well. And
You are competent.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But yeah, just huge impact.
I love that. Fucking
Massive.
oath.
And just bringing Joel in and just raving about people and
Yeah.
other coaches like, mate, if you don't go, like you're an idiot.
Yeah.
Like,
Nah, it's good. It's good.
So that's the intro.
I still can't believe you've only been around for 2 years.
Yeah.
That's wild.
I mean, I've been only coaching for 2.5.
Fucking hell, man. My whole time thing is cooked. I've been on a journey, but we already know that. But yeah, wow.
I mean, what?
I honestly thought you were from the internship at the first gym. That I thought we had been together for like 5 years.
Yeah, right.
No. Wow.
Yeah.
What coaches do you know that have been coaching for 2.5 years that talk like Dill? Like,
That's good. I rate it.
Insane.
Thanks, Joey.
Yeah. No, like, mate, I've coached twice the amount of time as you, and he's smarter.
Yeah. No,
like about most stuff.
That's good.
Yeah, kills it.
Man, my time perception is fucked.
No, COVID's whack. You like forget where things were, and
Yeah.
because it's just nothing.
Like, I don't even know when we moved to this facility. Like, I don't know what year that was.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. No.
That's another principle that came out. I just kept saying, Joey, like, doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't fucking matter.
Doesn't matter.
And then you try and explain to someone why that's better. You get that's actually something about coaching. Like, fuck, did the clients
They don't care.
get value from me because I'm saying nothing?
Yeah, they don't
I just
care.
spend the session just saying nothing.
The only thing one thing I've found with clients, they only want to feel more confident. I think that's the main thing that everyone's looking for. So think about someone that's got niggles. They just want to feel more confident in the gym. They don't want the niggles to be that. They want to forget about the niggles and just be able to lift. Or someone that wants to lose weight, they want to feel more confident in themselves. They want to lose weight, change the way they look, so they change the way they feel. For someone that wants to get stronger, they want to feel like that confidence, that like I'm strong, I'm capable, and all of that sort of stuff. Like I think confidence is the most, like when you look past a client, like you get taught this at like PT fucking certs and stuff. It's like, yeah, they'll tell you they want to gain 10 kilos, but like what's the layer deeper? Like what's that psychological thing? Like I think like, let's choose a number, 80% of that psychological layer for why people go to the gym is just purely confidence. And I think that's probably all that matters. Even if you're not educating them around something, but they're feeling more confident in the process, like you're making an impact, you're doing the thing, you're helping them. So yeah.
I mean, I'd argue confidence is like contagious. So like when you're talking about the biomechanics thing, it's like, yeah, you're going down that rabbit hole and like, oh, it doesn't all matter. And it's like, but when you come to a client and you go, we're doing this type of specific, it's going to fix blah, blah, blah. They're like, oh my gosh, this is going to completely change my life.
And then it works.
Exactly.
You build more trust.
Yeah.
They feel more capable. They feel more confident. They have a better trust with you. BPS land. The psychology feeds it all. Outcomes and then
The narrative, the internal load.
I was saying to Dill yesterday, like I had a consult come in and we've just gone through squats, we've just gone through RDLs, and then, we're talking. I was like, oh, have you had any injuries in the past? She's like, oh, like my hip's fucked. And I'm like, who told you that? She's like, oh, just my chiro. And I'm like, your chiro told you that? And she's like, yeah. And she's like, and he said there might be, I don't know, like a little bit of hip dysplasia
Here
going
it comes.
on. And I was like, don't ever go back to that person again. And I was like, just quickly, I was like, just humour me for a second. I was like, you just squatted full depth, like ass to grass, hands on calves. I was like, did your hip hurt at all? She's like, no. I'm like, we just did RDLs. You were nailing those. They looked awesome. Hip hurt at all? She's like, no. I'm like, I don't think your hip's fucked. I think your hip's totally fine.
Absolutely.
And I was like, we'll just see what happens. But I was like, right now, I think you got the best hips in the world. But like the way she was like, yeah.
It's crazy what people hang on to, man. And like, that's why, like, when you think of like the role of a coach or even just a person, not that there's any difference between a coach and a personal trainer, but generally like a personal trainer is more gen pop. That they're not like highly specific performance-based goals. It's just like get in, get consistent with training, learn some general health, lifestyle stuff. Like the true role of a personal trainer, and how much impact you have because you spend so much time with the client. And you're often the first point of contact when they need to find new information or they've read something and they want an objective, expert analysis of, I was watching this documentary on fucking veganism, and then you can come in and be like, it's fucking shit, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, that makes sense. I was kind of like, even just like little things around like their development of just literacy of health and fitness or health and performance or whatever it is. Like the PT is that person for so much of that. And we have such a huge impact. And most of the time, we're just cert 3-4 educated people, and they see us more than they see a doctor, more than they see a physio, more than they see a psychologist. I'm sure you've got clients that you're borderline a psychologist for as well. Like, it's actually wild how much, how impactful the role is. And yeah, like shattering a shit narrative is part of that.
Yeah, that probably leads perfectly into your question.
Which one?
Do you want me to read it out?
Yeah. Well, there's a few. We're sitting in like a bunch of these questions now. So
yeah. So like, Dill wanted to ask you, like, where does the industry say a coach should be, and like, where do you think a coach should be?
I've got this. Let me contextualize a bit. I've just got like, you just wrapped all these things, and I struggle with like what a coach should be, or like what we provide. And I feel like the industry like narrows it into like there's a lot of bodybuilding bias, and you apply that to these gen pop people incorrectly to a point. Yep. Even maybe powerlifting.
All of the I call them silos. There's these silos of focus: bodybuilding focus, powerlifting focus, and S&C. They're like independent sort of parts of the industry.
Yeah. And you're allowed, and it's good to niche and go down those areas. But I just see us as like another form of a GP. And that's my bias. I'm like big on health. That's why people should be trained. That's why you come in, health, confidence. But yeah, so what do you think? Like, where do you think the industry is pushing coaches? And then where do you think like a coach should be?
I think most, until you get to a level where you're working with a very niched population. Not everyone wants to go to a niche population. We're definitely in the niche world now, though, of like strength training, performance training. Like we've niched ourselves into that because we have a business and a brand and all that sort of stuff. But unless you go to a niche and you're just like serving a general, you're working at a big chain gym, you could get anyone coming in with all sorts of variety of goals that they all kind of package into like very standardized goals of weight loss or strength or hypertrophy or leg training or whatever it might be. If you're just working with a general population, I think the primary job of a coach is to make the process of health and fitness becoming a lifestyle as frictionless as possible. And that is, I think, 90% of the job for 90% of the industry is just general population people coming to you asking for help, trying not to impart your siloed bias of like, I'm going to put this person into powerlifting training, I want to put this person into bodybuilding training or any of that sort of stuff. You're trying to make their lifestyle center around health and fitness more than it currently is and making it as frictionless as possible. So working with them, meeting them where they're at, let their goals decide the direction you go. Don't expect too much of them. Start with less, build up from there rather than starting with more and shredding it down and losing that confidence because all of a sudden you gave them a 4-day a week and they can only do maybe 2 or 3 sessions a week. They're feeling like they're missing out. They're all of a sudden no longer interested in coming to you for advice because they feel like they've let you down or whatever it is. Like, you'd make it as frictionless as possible to get them to be more healthier and more fitter over time. That's, I think, the most... But the problem that young coaches fall into is that they look at someone like us, choose your... I call them gurus. We are a guru. Choose your guru. Who's your favorite guru out there right now? Me. All right. Who's your favorite guru out there right now?
Kyle Baxter.
Carl Baxter. All right.
You know Carl Baxter?
Yeah. Yep. Alrighty. So
He's drinking the Bax Kool-Aid right now.
that's all right.
Yeah.
Down the back's
That's all right. That's
He doesn't
fine.
know that.
He's got a huge impact. In fact, that whole community has a huge impact. Young coaches come in, they choose their favorite guru, they start drinking the Kool-Aid, and they think that that direction is all that matters. And then all of a sudden, you impart the bias of the guru on your clients, and you're actually doing a disservice to your clients because they don't give a fuck about any of that shit. They just want to feel more confident, get in the gym regularly, not overeat all the time, and not feel bad about over-consuming a fucking dessert, going to bed feeling shameful that they ate the thing or they missed the gym or any of that. Like, there's that part is the most important thing. But the young coaches, and I don't know why that, because I did the same thing. I know why you go and attach yourself to these gurus is because you just want confidence in your ability. And if they're doing it and it works for them and they're successful, that means if I just follow that to a T, I have a guard around me to say that I'm confident, I'm capable, I can do it. I can impact in the same way they can because I'm just... But you're not. But also, it's a journey to get to the point where you can reflect and be like, ooh, I've gone too hard down there.
Yeah. I even reflected on that myself because I realised in hindsight I very much did that to my whole... as I jumped from guru to
Everyone
guru,
does.
as you do. And I was I think a lot of it was insecurity of I can't be wrong because they're right.
Absolutely.
So if I'm doing what they're doing and someone questions what I'm doing, it's he does it. You can argue with him.
Yeah, and then this is where the narrative, and I fucking hate narratives, but I've got my own narratives, but all of a sudden you start spurting their narratives, but it's watered down. You learnt it from them, you didn't quite understand it, but now you're saying it to the client. They definitely don't. If you don't understand it and you've got 40% of the picture... They've got 3% of the picture and they pick up, he's told me, not that you've done this, but they said that my hips are unstable, and they take that with the rest of until someone challenges it, or they do enough education to realize, my hips are completely fine. It takes and that's the watered down narrative Kool-Aid that just dilutes into shit eventually, and it does.
Yeah,
it all
social
falls.
media learning.
Yeah, exactly. Social media learning. Another big thing with mine, if you're a young coach who's trying to piece together the education through social media, stop, choose the person that you want to learn from and dive in.
Yeah.
Go as far into whatever they offer as possible. Go into it. Hire them as a coach, do my mentorship, do all of it. Get the biggest, most comprehensive picture and then make a decision whether or not that's the right thing. Don't just piece these ideas with fucking social media dot connecting because you're just losing 99% of what's actually important.
Yeah.
And it takes 30 hours of a mentorship to get to the point where it's none of this shit actually matters. But if I said that on day one and fucking blah, 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 and that's all you took, well then, yeah.
On the topic of gurus, who would you say, and this might not be a guru.
And I just want to say, I don't say guru in a negative, it's not, I know it has a negative connotation, but it's not a negative connotation. Some of them are shit, but most of them have good stuff. It's not a negative, it's just that these guys are very guru-ized their ideas and all of that. And I've done the same thing. I am a guru, yeah.
It might not be a guru, could have been a client or an intern or whatever, but who would you say, when you reflect upon your career, has had the greatest impact, whether it's one person or just someone who had notable impact?
Heaps. Within the industry, Christian Woodford was the first one. He showed me that what the potential of a model is, and that's a big part. That's why my whole second business is now called Training Model. Because his gym was running the Woodford model. He had 4 or 5 coaches at the time, all running the same model. Every client that walked into the facility was educated and trained within the model. And I had never seen that in Australia before. So that was the first. And then obviously I spent a lot of time there. He was very impactful on me initially with just my mindset around what the potential of a coach could be. Because there wasn't, this was 12 years ago now, there wasn't that many opportunities for coaches in the private sector. For S&C, that's where I started. It was very much you work at a fucking AFL club or you don't work. And everyone was funneling towards the elite sector. And then Woodford pops up and says, hey, you can do it yourself. And just built this fucking web of coaches that we're all around now. And people will be surprised at how many of the people that own gyms, especially in Melbourne, own gyms, have an impact, have teams of coaches around them, are really like connected and all of that. How many of them actually started at that time with Woodford, which was like 12 years ago. So he would be the first one. Second to that would then be Eric Cressy, which is where I interned in America. And that's where, I think that's where my technical brain as a coach was developed. Through the Cressy and the CSP model and their anatomy focused understanding of movement, training, and all of that. From there forward, John Paul Cowkey would be in there for barbell training, who was a Woodford coach, the Fortress. Everyone that he's impacted was directly from Woodford. I can't tell you how many of these things come back to Woodford. Not that John Paul wouldn't have achieved the things he did, but he was a big part of that initial thing. And his first real coaching job was through Woodford. Josh Hannell, that intern that highlighted me to the BPS stuff, that was a huge moment in my career and a change in my perspective. And then recently, James George.
Why?
My current intern. Well, previous to this conversation pressing record, I've been on a journey, a huge journey. I was done with the industry. I thought, and this was the part with the final internship was kind of the peak of that. As I said, I don't remember the year. I don't remember the months. I don't remember any of it. I don't know who was here. I don't know the people I was coaching. There was probably a 2-year patch there where I was literally void of any feeling around work. I was very anxious in the gym. I didn't want to be here. I ended up cancelling all my shifts and not filling them up. Behind the scenes, I created a lot of... I put the responsibility of the brand and the business direction on the staff members, which... meant that we started to like dilute the focus of what we were doing. No fault of anyone's. It was just me as a poor leader. It's my fault. And I saw a psych. I actually had a full breakdown here one day because one of the boys was like, "What the fuck's going on?" And I was like, I just full breakdown. And then I started seeing a psych. Did like 7-8 months with her. A lot of introspection. Eventually did the ADHD. It turned into this ADHD sort of journey that I've been on, and I've now been medicated. Became a dad. There was a lot of that stuff. We had a miscarriage. Laura was incredibly sick. It was just a very dark period of 2 years, and it got to the point where I was like evaluating my business to sell. Like, if I'm done, like, what can I, from what I've built, what can I get for it, and all of that. There were other people that were selling their gyms around Australia. I'd spoken to a few of them. Spoken to Will Berkman, if you know Will Berkman, about like career change and all of that. I was in the process of like, what are my options here and all of this? And this was only like close to probably 12 months ago. And then the final psych meeting, she was like, you have to do the things that the reason you started is you got to do more of those things. Like, think about it, whatever that is, go and do more of that. And I was like, it's coach development. That is the thing that G's me up the most. That is the thing that I care about the most. That is these models and these ideas and piecing them together. That's the thing that fucking lights me up. And I left the meeting and I was like, I'm just going to do a free 4-week development thing. It was called June Development. It was last year. Did you come to one? Or
I was at all of them. And
all 4 of them?
Yeah.
That was the start of the next phase. James George was in there. The first time I met him was the first day there. No, not the free one recent.
Oh, okay.
This was last year, not the free one recent. That was just another version of it because of James George, and we'll get to that. But it was June last year. It was 4 weeks, and it was going to be week 1 was part of the model, week 2 was part of the model, week 3 was part of the model, week 4 was part of the model, and we link it all together. And then James rocks up, day 1. He's like, yeah, I've been recommended to come here from Con. I'm like, yeah, Matt, nice to meet you. And I just started spurting shit as I do. Because all my education was just like filtered shit. It was just like no direction with any of it. And then, sorry, I'm really ranting here, boys.
Keep going.
And then James, by the end of it, he's like, I haven't picked up any of this. It's too deep. but I love it. He's like, I want to be around more. He's like, can I sign up with one of the, and this is what I mean, we're dive in. He's like, can I sign up with one of the boys? Yep, on with Dids, blah, blah, blah. And he's just around here. And now he's a integral part of our community. He knows everyone. He's fucking hilarious and all of this. And then it got to a point where James needed to do his hours for his fucking...
You said?
No, his degree.
Exercise, yeah.
His degree. And he's like, I need to do hours. Can you do my hours? I'm like, yeah, fuck it. We set up the free thing that you guys came to. This was around the time I was coaching you. And I was just like, fuck it. We'll run a free thing and we'll just see who rocks up. And it was for James, like literally. And all you guys started coming. And then I'm like, man, I've got why am I not like packaging this thing? And then I used that 10, 12 weeks, whatever it was, to build what the mentorship and I was asking for feedback and I was really taking it on board. I was like, I want to package this thing to become like this fucking egg of everything that I know around movement. And then that's training model and all of that. That whole process has just been James George asking for me to do more with him. And it's just got to a point now where I'm sitting in this fucking thing 3 hours a week, yelling at people through Zoom. I just had 150 people register for a GATE webinar. I can't tell you how impactful it's already been. My engagement on, not that this is a vanity metric, but my engagement on social media has never been like this. So many people just in my DMs asking me questions and being like, man, this is so helpful and all of this. Like I've always had this, and it took James George to just ask me for more and more and more to get to the point where I could actually, and then, yeah, so James George is currently the person that has, yeah.
That's wicked.
I've been on a journey, boys. There was a very dark 2-year patch there. That's very blurry. Yeah.
But you wouldn't have probably come out if it didn't happen.
Yeah, I would say I hit rock bottom, and I'm glad I did because I felt what that feels like. And I'm glad I didn't rip the cord on the business because I was pretty close. Yeah. And now I'm just cleaning up some of that mess behind the scenes.
We were talking about that. It's about personal.
Not so much that it's a mess, but I've got to fix some of those things that I let just, yeah.
We were talking about just personal stuff the other week, but I was just like, you just have to break. You got to reach rock bottom. That's like the only way to get some like genuine change going.
You need to feel it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is part of the coaching model, but like you have to get clients to feel certain things and in order to make the change. Yeah, it's not until you realize I've walked down the wrong path, no one's fault but my own, but until you realize that you've done that, until you feel it, then you can make a change. Yeah. It's funny because I'm wearing a golf culture hat, but I actually started a whole new business called Golf Culture. I've got the TikTok, I've got the Instagram, I've got a website, I've got the company name. Because part of that journey, I was like, I need to swing out of this. Can I somehow get golf into this brand and start pivoting? And my partner just bought me a Golf Culture hat. So I've got one piece of apparel for Golf Culture.
What's the business?
It was going to just be golf coaching.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'm never going to use it, but
yeah.
My ADHD brain just hyper focuses on something, and I bought all the shit, and I was like, I'm going to protect this and fucking just hold it. And yeah. But that's part of this whole.
Yep.
I don't know.
No, I love
what
it.
a journey.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening to my rehab. How's our moods now?
It's me G'd up.
Yeah, it's good.
Like as a coach, I always joke to Dylan. Like I'm just like it's probably like once a month, once every 2 months, where I'm just like I'm gonna quit.
Yeah, man.
Do you know what I mean? Like it's
it's hard working
running your own business. Yeah.
People don't realize it, and I feel sorry for the young coaches. I was one of them, obviously, but I don't think you realize you're working for yourself. Yeah. You can blame your PT manager. You can blame fucking all these gurus on social media. They fucking instilled fear in blah. You can blame whoever you want. Just look in the mirror. That's the one person that can make you work for yourself. It's really fucking hard.
Yeah. And my clients would be a big reason I don't. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
I love training my clients.
Yeah.
And that's a privilege you get when you get more developed as a business and you can really colour who you work with.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then you start to attract, and you build a culture, now straight culture, but you build a culture in your own business, and then suddenly you're like, wait a minute, I'm like kind of attracting all of the same people here.
Yeah, and it just feeds itself.
Yeah. But from not even just that period, but I like asking people this because I feel like you can literally ask anyone off the street and you would get probably a good and different answer from almost anyone. Is like from that whole period, or even just the past 5 years, forget coaching in the business. What's the biggest life lesson you learned from all of this?
I think something wrapped around like just follow your interests. Not your like you monetize your passions, like you'll never work a day. Not like that, but like, I don't know, just for myself, all of my best periods of growth have come when I've just dove into the things I'm interested in. Started with Woodford. I decided to like, it was a cool gym. It was up and popping. I didn't even want to coach. I just walked in there. I remember the day, and he talks about this a lot, but I walked in there with it was a book of questions, and I had 2 pages worth of questions, and I'm like, can I take 30 minutes of your time and just work through these questions? I was like 20, just started in the industry. And he's like, yeah, man, everyone knows Woody. He's like, yeah, go for it. Let's pull up a seat. Fucking pulls 2 benches next to each other. And I'm like, literally just sitting there, like interviewing him. Like, what do you do with a blah, blah, blah in this situation? And he'd tell me the thing, and I'm like, write a few notes down. And it got to the end of the 30 minutes. And then he was like, man, you got to spend more time here. Hire a coach. I was like, oh, all right. I had no intentions of hiring a coach, but I didn't have much money. I was probably servicing like 5. I'm like, yeah, I just want to spend more time here. And that's when I hired John Paul Cauchi. That's where that whole influence starts. But I decided to dive into that because it was interesting to me. The Cressy thing, I was just interested. To be honest, I was interested in his blogs around anatomy. And I was like, I think I could learn some shit. I flew to America because this guy used to write cool blogs on fucking low traps and serratus and hamstrings and fucking glute med and whatever. And I was interested in it. And then I dove into that, and then that created strength culture. I dove into building strength culture. And this is part of my brain chemistry, is why this is now all makes so much sense to me. But just follow your interests. There's a good chance, especially if you're making content on social media and you're racking your brain trying to make this thing for what it is, and it's really difficult and you're not confident in it, that's probably because you're trying to be someone you're not. Content and your ideas flow when you're just talking about things that are just natural and easy for you, your experience, your story, your client's story. That becomes very easy because you're interested in it. When you're trying to be someone you're not, all of a sudden it becomes very like friction-based. You doubt yourself, and just follow your interests. That's all it is. You'll still have to work a fuck ton, but yeah, just follow your interests.
Should we keep going down this hole or go on some like funnier ones?
No, we'll leave that to the end.
All right.
We did the industry. What conversation should the industry be having more? What pisses you off about the industry?
Not enough BPS. Too much worry on the objective. I think that's the governing. Yeah.
Actually, that wraps me into the next one. So, internal load is so important. Should I just start telling all my clients that it literally, my program grows their biceps 50% more than any other coaches? And it will also make them feel confident day to day just from doing it because of the people that I've learnt from, and wrap it in this complete narrative. Tell white lies just to
build more trust.
And belief, self-efficacy, yeah.
Yeah, well, that's where it all starts to fall apart. Where you are, and this is the nihilistic thing, is that.
Well, no, this is not nihilistic. I want to go that way more. I have confidence in my coaching, but I realize that it's very much about the internal load, and maybe I can affect the internal load so much because of the way I speak. White lies, or maybe the truth. Maybe I believe it. I was telling you about Saad, like the way he talks, mate. My beliefs. Whew.
I think this is what starts a cult.
What if the cult's good?
Well, the cult's great until it's not.
Yeah, okay.
And then you're getting your fucking finance ripped out of you, and your whole world's falling to shit, and you're living in the bloody bush somewhere. You got no pants on, and everyone's doing LSD. I think, the cult.
That sounds like a standard Saturday for me.
I think that you always have to be truthful.
Okay, but
yeah,
devil's advocate, like Panadol came out with a period pain Panadol.
Yeah,
right?
It's the same
and
thing.
they got sued
because
they were like, it was the exact same ingredients, but then this psychologist was like, actually, basically he had no affiliation with Panadol, and he was like essentially advocating for them because he's like, no, you don't understand, because it does work better, because they said that it works for period pain. Even though it's the same ingredient, the psychological aspect of it makes it work better.
But I 100% agree with that. And this is if you're not aware of what we're talking about right now, we're talking about placebo and the idea of like your belief changes the outcome, both positive and negative, which would be nocebo. But I think that there is dishonesty in leaning into the placebo too hard. And I think if you're not truthful, even though you know that by not giving that information, by not telling them that, oh, it's the same as normal Panadol, probably will change the outcome. At some level, you are being dishonest. And I don't, and that doesn't sit well with my values.
Yeah,
it depends what your values are as a coach, I guess.
But from
go.
well, I'm just saying, from
Or
a
a
practical
business.
point, you know that the placebo, it literally does make it work better. So are you being dishonest?
Yeah, and like if we're in a mindset camp right now, and we're talking about beliefs and confidence, and you start jacking people's. Have you seen that Andy Elliott guy on Instagram?
No.
Oh, really? Show his videos. It's actually mad. Like he's like too much, but it's sick. And it's so good.
He's
But-
like, gets the sales reps doing like 100 push-ups in the parking lot. And he's
I've
like,
seen it.
let's go sell some cars!
You don't have a
If you
six-pack,
don't- yeah. But like, and then you start
The
hearing
bald
his,
bloke.
yeah, and then you start hearing his actual logic. Like he's not really that. That's probably just like a
It's 1%
outlandish version of him. But yeah, like I feel like there is delusion with your beliefs, or like even just like running your own business. Like you got to have this belief, and like it's okay to just be this super like instilling person or inspirational person. Like whether I'm delusional or not, it's going to affect. Yeah, I don't know. So you don't think coaches should just teeter with that?
I think you should lean into it, but
Yeah.
not to the point where it becomes dishonest.
Yeah.
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 But that's only because that's my value.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. No, that's yeah.
I honesty and not telling a lot. One of the things I liked doing as a coach is just saying I don't know. Like when a client, oh, how did that work? Sometimes I don't know. We just tried something and it seemed to work. Like I can narratize a belief or narratize from a belief seed that I have as to why that may have worked. But sometimes just doing different shit just works.
Yeah.
And it's all right to be like, I actually don't know. Like I like doing that. And clients, I think, well, my belief, believe it's all subjective, but when someone tells me that they don't know, so I prefer them to say, I don't know, but let's work this out together, rather than just like throw something at me and then I'm just like, oh, that's true, and fucking go the rest of my
I
life.
love when you one of these Wednesday sessions in the internship, you just said, if you ask someone why enough, they will eventually say, I don't know.
Yeah,
I was like, that's epic.
Like, you just, but it has to. Like, and then this is like how science works and like how these models are built. But everyone, if you go back through the narratives and eventually get back to the truth, everyone agrees. There is a level that every single person in our industry has to agree upon. For some parts of the industry, it's a very fundamental thing. Something like progressive overload. Everyone at some level agrees with progressive overload, but then the application of progressive overload is when these ideas start to separate, and then you start getting fighting because those guys are talking about progressive overload different to what I think progressive overload and all of that. But when you follow them back far enough, we all agree that you need to overload your training. Like it's just the fundamental truth of what we do. So following and questioning people and objectively learning from them. So not just drinking the Kool-Aid, but thinking about like, what are they actually saying here and how are they communicating this and what is the application of this stuff? Eventually we just get to a full agreement on the whole training process, which is fantastic. How did I get here? Oh, because if you ask someone why enough, they'll say, I don't know. But even that idea of progressive overload, everyone agrees to that point. But then there's science that underpins those things, that there are assumptions within the understanding of progressive overload that everyone agrees upon. And if you follow that back enough, all of a sudden you're going to get to a part where there's a scientist that has bridged two things with an outcome and an input. They don't know the mechanism and they bridge it with a narrative. And then that funnels down into the application of what we're doing in the... And the example I always use with this is gravity. Gravity is a huge part of my model. It's a gravity-first model. I think gravity is the most important thing to understand if you're a coach, because it's what we're fighting. It's where the load comes from. It's how we manage a center of mass. It's how we manage training. Everyone knows this. This is why machines work better for proximity to failure of a muscle compared to a not. It's because of the gravity response. People wrap it as stability. It doesn't matter. It's how we manage gravity is the most important thing from a movement standpoint. So it's the core pillar of my model. But if you go to the astrophysicists, they all agree on what gravity is, but you follow the gravity thing back and up. We have no fucking clue what it is. We don't know what dark matter is. We don't know why the sun is where it is in the space. We don't know if there was actually a Big Bang. We don't know where any of this shit... So if you follow any idea back far enough, there's assumptions and unknowns and myths and narratives everywhere around you. So at some point, if you keep asking someone, eventually they will have to say, I actually don't know.
At the core, we're just going with what makes the most sense.
Our experiences, subjective world, welcome back. Our experiences, what's worked for me in the past, who I've learnt from, their beliefs, subjective. It all kind of doesn't matter.
Yeah, and then, like, rolling on this, can I go into Bones?
Oh, no, let me
you
ask
wanna
this
say
one
this?
first. Let me ask this one first. Jamie, I was wondering if you would do us the honour, you don't have to, if you could give us the boat wake analogy of the term.
That's a whole...
Okay.
All right, well,
I was expecting a no from
so-
that one.
Yeah, we could. It's just going to confuse people, and they'll probably because it's still confusing in my head. I haven't really worked it. Did you understand it? That was like
to
a
some
45-minute conversation
to
we were having.
some
then.
degree.
he showed it
Because
to me yesterday.
That
I
was
didn't know.
super abstract when you got to that.
But it makes
But
sense.
to me, it's like, yeah, you've got these beliefs, and then eventually some belief will change that belief, and then you realize that your belief.
It's all connected, and it's all people. What the thoughts other people have put in your head. That none of your thoughts are original. Not a single one. That's come from somewhere else, or you've connected two other thoughts together and created what you deem to be a new thought, but it's not. It's come from.
So
The craziest part about that is, like, and then you go, well, like, and the fact that our thoughts are being influenced, whether you're religious or a historian or not, but all of
part
our
of it.
thoughts are being influenced by people who existed 10,000
and
years
the rest,
ago.
keep going.
Like,
Keep going.
yeah.
Yeah, literally, the whole
Yeah.
wild when you actually start getting into what BPS is trying to unpack.
So you say that. So here's the perfect, because you said if you ask someone enough, like, one of the best things, and like no one even taught me this. I'm not trying to pump my own tires. Best things I
Someone did.
learned as a kid, well, is to just say I don't know. Like you learned as a young trainer.
Well, who used to do that around you?
The people around me. But then I didn't have a
Someone
coach.
told you that was
A coach didn't tell me this. I was this fresh into training that I didn't have a coach influence in my life yet who had been like, if you don't know something, just say I don't
It's
know.
okay to not know.
Yeah. And I just did. And that was like one of the best things that, like, I just said it to a client and I was like, that felt good.
Feels good.
And I was like, it was the right thing to say.
No longer not being
Yeah.
yourself. Just be yourself.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And I'm so glad.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm so glad I learned that early on,
Yeah.
because I think even knowing myself, like, that's. Yeah,
I don't like being dishonest.
I don't like being dishonest, but I'm also like, when I look back at myself, I was always have been, and probably still am, like, very insecure about, like, my intelligence, and so like to say I don't know would have been pretty hard, but something I did from the start, which is good. And anyways, literally had a conversation 2 weeks ago because I'm trying to explain to my mate who's done a batch in exercise sports science. The bones move, muscles
first.
react.
Yeah.
The bones first thing.
Do you believe
And
that?
I don't know because
haven't done
I
the-
don't know enough. So I tried to tell
Wait,
it to
you'll
him.
know it within about
I tried to tell it to him. He's asked me like,
What do you believe?
I believe that, but then what? You can get stuck in what Joel's about to say, what his mate said. I understand why. I just said to Joel, it's gravity. I just said
want
it's center
to
of
believe.
mass. That's what I said.
Good.
Which I thought, when I said it, I'm like, holy shit.
Good learning.
Yeah.
Good learning.
but see, I want to believe, and I don't not believe. But like, he literally asked me 2 questions, and I was like, yeah, I don't know. You have to hear Jamie say it.
Yeah.
So let's hear it. Just the quick, for people who don't have the context, is Jamie, you teach this, what would you call it?
So
You just say it. Just say it.
So I think fundamentally we learn movement wrong. I think we learn it backwards because we learn it from a muscle first lens. And when you learn what a muscle does, you zoom in. Everyone's seen the image of the muscle belly, and then this sausage comes out, and we're looking at a fiber, and then another sausage comes out, we're looking at a sarcomere, and then the sarcomere breaks down into actin and myosin, titin, the Z lines, and all of this stuff, and they start talking about the chemical process to cause the muscle to contract. That is the wrong way to learn. I fundamentally think that's the wrong way to learn movement, is that you learn and base all of your ideas from there forward that a muscle contracts. But a muscle doesn't contract. A muscle creates tension. That's what a muscle does. And normally if I was to run a seminar on this, I would then stop with a group of 30 coaches in front of me and I say, let's unpack what tension is. And eventually people are like, oh, it's the stimulus for hypertrophy. Yeah, mechanical tension. Oh, it does this, fucking blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden, there's this whitewash of what is tension. So we need to understand what tension is. In the engineering world, tension is a force. So we need to understand what forces are. So then you have contact forces, which are forces when I push on something, it moves. If I push hard enough, it moves. If I push really hard, it will accelerate and move. If it's touching something else, there's friction. The friction would slow it down. If there's wind resistance, it slows it down. So there's contact forces of things touching each other and all of that. Then we have non-contact forces, which are electromagnetism. So there's a force either coming towards or going away through the electromagnetic field. If you've listened to Terence Howard, he now thinks that that is wrong and how we view the electromagnetic field is wrong and what all of that. But there's non-contact forces. So in the universe, we have non-contact and contact forces. The one that matters for us as humans is gravity, which is a non-contact force. We are moving towards the center of the Earth at 9.8 meters per second squared, and it's always there. That force is always there, and it turns into what becomes a compressive force on our system. So when you stand up, there is more weight in your feet than there is your knee. There is more weight in your knee than there is your hip, because your whole body weight is being held on top of your base of support, if that makes sense. So this compressive force has to be dealt with. And if it's not dealt with, you're on the ground. You're lying on the ground, you're unconscious, you're asleep. So for you to stand up, you have to react to the compressive force. To lift and to roll out of bed, you're always fighting the compressive force, which is gravity. And the muscle tension that you feel, and then we get back to tension, tension is a stretch force. It's pulling on something. The muscles pull on the bones, but they don't pull on the bones to create movement. They pull on the bones to move the system, if that makes sense. They're not trying to close the elbow. They're trying to achieve a task or move something to do the thing. They're not just creating the action of elbow flexion. They're reactive to where the bones are. So as you stand up and you've got your center of mass on your base of support, you're constantly destabilized. Because if you switched everything off, you'd fall down. So there's always this reactive process that's happening from the central nervous system. A lot of it is subconscious, but it's always a reactive muscular tension to move and hold the center of mass up, if that makes sense. It's called tension. And one side tensions to pull and the other side relaxes. And then the other side tensions to pull and it's constantly this reactive process of supporting the bones. So when gravity moves the bones, the muscles then react and create tension. It's not always active. It's not the sarcomere, and we could go into all of that sort of stuff. There's passive things. There's subconscious processes. There's things within your joints that change the reception of what's going on and where we are in space. This is proprioception. This becomes motor control and sensory inputs. What changes those two sort of things is there's a whole, we could do 10 hours on all of this. Yep. But the fundamental truth is that the muscles are reacting to where the bones are, which is where the center of mass is. And when you lose balance, they react. When you try to move and achieve a task, they react to the process and move. So it's always, you have to learn what the bones do before the muscles, and I think it's backwards learning from a muscle contraction. Hopefully we didn't lose anyone there. We probably did. And the gravity is always compressing us. The muscles then react to that compression, and that's why the muscle is reactive to bone position.
There you go.
And then what if someone says, oh, but like your brain controls it, which is connected to the nervous system, which is connected directly to the muscles, not the bones themselves. What would you say then?
But just the fact of you trying to roll out of bed, you're reacting to gravity. So when your brain switches off and you turn unconscious at night, you're on a mattress because your central nervous system, brain, everything that's influenced you knows that your night's sleep will be better when you're on a soft bed, because gravity is still pulling on you. And as soon as you decide to wake up and get out of bed, press snooze a couple times and start to roll, as soon as that first motion happens, you're reacting to gravity straight away. And for you to stand up, you have to balance. It's all a reaction to gravity, constantly. Then you go into the gym. Why do we add load? To create a greater gravitational demand that we have to overcome. And then proximity to failure is taking muscles, and the way that we do taking muscles close to failure, and the way we do that is increasing the load, increasing the time of tension, fighting gravity. It's all based off gravity, and no one goes back to that fundamental truth first. And that's why it's the center point of my,
Yeah. So, the saying is bones move, muscles react.
Yep.
Are you
I
saying...
stole that. I didn't steal it. I used to have it as muscle is dumb meat. I don't know if you were... That's what I used to say. Muscle was dumb meat.
Yeah.
And then I did a Gary Ward course, and he framed it as... he frames it as joints act, muscles react. That's how he frames it. It's the same principle, though, that the muscle is responsive to... so I've moved that to bones move, muscles react.
Yeah. So if we went a layer dumber or simpler... Yeah, still almost coming back to what Dill said. How would you say to someone's like, yeah, but it's still the muscles doing shit and they're moving the bones. Like the tension...
Well, it's not. When you do a bicep curl... And the eccentric starts, so you want to start the concentric.
But
where's the bones? The bones are open.
Yeah.
And you're fighting gravity with the dumbbell. The muscle is reacting to the position of the system. The position of the system is an open joint. It then causes a contraction. And now we can go a layer deeper. Concentric tension fights gravity. It overcomes gravity. Eccentric tension does not fight gravity. It controls it. It decelerates the system.
Would you say resists it?
You could say they both resist to a point, but it decelerates mass. So now you go to a squat. Your eccentric tension is decelerating the mass down to the ground. Your concentric tension re-accelerates the mass and pushes it back up. But it's all a response to where gravity has placed the bones, or the task has placed the bones.
The task changes.
The task is what changes it.
I could be ruining this or like completely getting it, but you're saying like the muscles can only even react the way that they do because of where the bones already were.
There we go.
Yeah.
It's gravity, mate.
It's all gravity.
Yeah.
It's all the reaction of the bone.
Yeah.
You cannot contract your bicep if the thing's already shut. It doesn't matter what got you there. But in this position, you no longer can contract your bicep because the bones have already closed. There's nothing left to accelerate. They're already gone. So it doesn't matter how much you squeeze and all of that. You have to change the setup, change the bones to then go and get that contraction back. Do you now see it?
No. Yeah. Yes. I like it.
Just
Very,
wait,
very good.
Just you wait for the movement.
Very, very good.
What I would say, though, this is not a nihilistic thing that we've got muscles wrong. It's just that if you go back and learn human movement from bone first... and learn that the skeleton has potential to move, and most of it comes from gravity shifting a mass. All of the tension response that all of your clients feel, or you feel as a lifter, is a response first to gravity and how the system's managing gravity just to stand up. This is where you get your extension postures. This is where you see the typical form breakdowns, the typical mobility restrictions that everyone feels, is because the system is managing gravity in a very particular pattern. My bias... hand up accountability. I love doing this in the mentorship. I'll tell you when I have a bias. My bias is that most people are extended, especially at the level of the lumbar spine and the pelvis, because that's where the mass is. It pushes forward and tilts forward in space. So we have a very consistent pattern that most people want to use when they're fighting gravity, which is a lumbar extension and anterior pelvic tilt. The tension response around that is what most people feel, which is a tight low back, tight front of the hips, poor ankle range of motion, shitty front knees, whatever you want to call that, doesn't matter.
Is that where we even... This could be like derailing this a bit. Like, could you even ask this? Like, if that's how, like, if you believe the majority of people starting to react to gravity that way, are we seeing evolution that we just have not evolved to yet? Is this something that... Do you know what I mean? Like, we're getting the negative effects to it.
No, I don't think it's a negative effect. I think that when we then go and layer on these ideas of deep ranges of motion, because of that position, it is limited. That position helps us. A forward center of mass helps us move forward, because then we get to gait cycle. This is what gait cycle is. It is the center of mass literally falling forward, and then the muscles reacting and swinging a leg and stopping it, pushing it back up with a glute tension or a hip extension tension to push it back to the top of the hill and let it fall down again.
Yep.
So the whole process is just gravity management. So the reason you're forward is probably because, or the reason I think bias, most people are extended, is because our life is pushing us forward. Everything we do is in front of us. Our head turns to the direction, that's where our eyes are, and then the mass goes there. We hear something over here, we look, and then the whole mass moves over there. So it's always just trying to get in front of us. We're always trying to move forward. That's why our feet face forward, bias. But when you look at a quadruped, and we can really get into this, but when you look at a quadruped skeleton, an ape skeleton, compare that to a human bipedal skeleton, you see the extension come into the system. You see a lumbar spine that extends. You see a pelvis that changes shape to allow for forward motion, where a chimp is very back to front, squished, lateralized, because it literally waddles. Its feet are wider than a human because it needs to deal with the wideness of their waddling motion, compared to a human's foot that becomes narrow forward and back because that's the direction we're going.
Yep.
It gets very... There's a lot of things within it.
All right, so there's a question.
Did I lose you, though?
No. I always try to... you didn't... No.
I was just going to say, the muscle thing is not wrong. It's just the muscle lens becomes very important to understand when you want to tension a very particular muscle. The two places that works, early stage rehab. Let's just say you fucking tear your Achilles. You need to tension the right areas of your calf in order for it to actually adapt and come back. You have to do that. It has to happen. So the muscle lens becomes very important then. We have to get everything in the right point, but it all comes back to bones. You've got to get all the bones in the right point to tension the right muscle. And then also hypertrophy. You can't hypertrophy a glute without understanding how the hip moves to shorten a glute. It still comes back to bones. But once we look at and we paint a muscle on top of it, all of a sudden it makes sense. All right, we need this thing to come back. We've got to make sure the pelvis doesn't tip forward. So we're actually going to tuck as this thing comes back. And that's going to put the most amount of shortening tension. So the muscle lens comes back, but you have to understand the positions before we layer a muscle on top.
Can I ask a quick question? And I want a quick answer because I want it, A, like I want it to be a clip, but B, I just want it to be like just like a super quick answer to, because on the topic of center of mass, ankle mobility. Someone tries to squat, like come down, my knee can't go far enough forward, my heels lift up. I made a post about this. I got absolutely chewed out on TikTok. About saying that it's not ankle mobility, it's center of mass management. Mm-hmm. What's your opinion? Someone's trying to squat, the knees coming forwards, the heel lifts up. Like, are we talking like, apparently 70% of the population has ankle mobility, hip mobility, or is it that they need to better... What's your thoughts on this?
I think the easiest place to think about any mobility restriction is that your joint only has so much space to move into. And depending on where you start, and this is why exercise setups are so important, depending on where you start your exercise setup, you're closing a certain portion of that. And then all of a sudden, you've only got this much range to move into for ankle dorsiflexion. So if you're limiting and you hit the wall and then your breakdown comes in, your heels rise in this situation, the easiest place to improve that expression is just to start shifted back in the opposite direction. This is why a heel raise works, because you raise the heel, which brings the tibia back. So you've just created more space to move into. There's nothing special there. It's also why an anterior load works, because you shift the system back because it's got a counterbalance, so it's got more space to move into. So if any mobility restriction is presenting, think about how can I change my setup to allow me to move further away from the position I'm trying to move into, so I've got more space to move into it. And that's why every little change works. You just open up, I call it joint space. You're opening up joint space to then move into and express.
So the reason people think they don't have ankle mobility is because they've closed off the space and then...
For whatever reason.
Yeah.
But some people just do have mobility restrictions, but it's a much smaller...
90% of the people that come in...
More.
Yeah, can just squat fine. There's no mobility restrictions.
And the way that I always say it is, if you can squat full range of motion with an anterior load, you do not have a mobility restriction. Your body can get down there. You've just now got to learn to coordinate that with a bar on your back.
Yeah.
It can happen.
What is going on? Why can't they get down there?
Because they're forward. You put the bar on the back, it shifts you forward. It closes off all of those joint ranges that you're trying to move into.
Yeah.
So you've got to learn to have the bar on your back and not shift forward in the setup. That comes to things like learning to brace well and drive your rib cage back a little bit. It learns to tucking your pelvis a little bit, making sure that we've got probably a mid-foot pressure, bringing the pressure in the foot to somewhere that can be stabilized, and trying to maintain those shapes as we go down. Most people should be, in fact, 99.9% of people do not have an ankle range of motion problem. They have my joint space is closed problem. Let's open it by changing the setup or changing the motor control, the way in which you execute the movement. Yeah.
And they also literally haven't even been there into those ranges. They haven't got into deeper than the toilet seat.
Yeah, exactly.
And then it's like the brain's like, wow.
It's a whole new thing.
The
And
nervous
this just
system's
becomes the motor learning process. So if you get down there and feel things out, just sit in the bottom of the squat and play around with where you're shifting and what you're feeling. And then all of a sudden you've got some reference to try to find when you're down there. Slow your tempos down. Maybe add a pause in the areas that you're struggling with. Get a coach. They'll fucking teach you it in 2 seconds if you're really struggling.
All right, so what impact would it have on the industry if every coach and allied health professional, and I want to put an emphasis on physios, osteos, chiros, all those people that have the education, what impacts would it have on the industry and all those people if they did the movement mentorship?
Overwhelmingly positive. My main goal of all of my training model stuff is to get people to the area of the agreeance of everyone. That's where I want. I think too many people are in these silos of dogfighting against other people that we're all talking about the same thing. Ultimately, progressive overload. We all agree that progressive overload is needed. But when you fight within these silos, all of a sudden we can't make any productive move forward. The whole goal of training model is to get people to leave the silos just for a little bit, come back to the agreeance of what everyone's, so that when we enter or observe these silos and these gurus, some of them are incredibly positive, most of them are, you can take the actual value, the objective stuff they're saying, not the narratives. The narratives is what confuses it, because this silo over here narratizes progressive overload in some way, and then this silo over here narratizes progressive overload in some way, and the narratives are conflicting, but the process is the exact same. So why are we not agreeing on what's going on? So I'm just trying to get everyone back to the point of agreeance. So everyone would be better, because then you can observe the two silos for what they're actually saying, the objective truth.
But I'm a physio and I've gone to uni for years. Why would I do this?
Because you're weak as piss. You don't know how to train. When was the last time you got someone to a double body weight anything? When was the last time you got someone to do more than 10 push-ups that didn't look like shit? Like, that's just the reality. You don't actually know training. You know the physiology, the neurology, the respiratory, all of that sort of stuff to a nth degree from a textbook, but can you apply any of this stuff practically? Probably not. You need to learn from a coach that actually applies it.
I'll just give them a massage, some banded exercises, and then moving again. So
yeah,
that's good
the
enough.
muscles are tight. I think that's probably what I need
Absolutely,
to do.
yeah. Placebo's wild. Yeah, just rub oil on their back and they'll leave feeling good. Yeah,
but they're moving again, so why should I do any more?
Yeah. Even some of those, they're called passive rehab processes or something, like passive rehabilitation. Even some of that stuff is actually overwhelmingly more supportive than exercise in some ways. So there's truth in all of that. And this is what I mean. Not everyone has these negative... Just because you don't agree with it, there's still truth in what they're saying. So, but ultimately, like, training is really important for building capacity, and people that understand training the best are actually just coaches and personal trainers. You could probably learn from them.
This actually leads so well into my next question. I wanted to ask you, like, for the average Joe, so like even I'll use myself for an example. Before I ever walked into a gym, wasn't overweight, played sport, I don't know, had no clue. Yeah, fit and healthy. Why do I need to go to gym? Do I need to go to gym? What would, like, I can list benefits of me going to the gym, but do I need to? Like,
absolutely, because your whole life you're going to fight gravity, and at some point gravity's going to start beating you. It's going to turn. It's going to turn you into a weak sack of shit at some point. It's going to turn your bones into fucking brittle little things. Your muscles are going to turn to weakness. You're going to hurt your back at some point. It's going to linger because gravity's always pulling back down on you, and you got to fight that that cunt for as long as you can.
like
And the
that.
stronger, the more capable you are, the better and easier things in life just become. Because you can fight gravity easier because you're stronger, you're fitter, you're healthier, you've got endurance, you've got all the good qualities of good movement. And also it's a good reflection for the younger generation of just being a healthier population.
When does that stop?
It doesn't stop.
Like what? Like so? You know, should we advocate for steroids? Like no. Like should I? Hey, I'm just saying. Like
TRT,
should
baby.
like where like is there a scale? Is there a cutoff point? As someone who's twice my size, fitter and healthier, are they going to beat
No.
gravity for
All
longer
right, so-
than me?
So this comes into this is a really important physiological framework for coaching. Every decision you make, although it might be overwhelmingly positive, has aberrant negative things that occur as well. Every decision. So you can make the most positive thing possible. You can say, I'm going to go work and make more money for my family. But that positive decision now means you're actually spending less time with your family. And long term, what is the most important thing? This is something that I've been thinking about. But what is the most important thing long term? Do I work hard for 10 years and miss a little bit now so that I can spend more time? And you're always got to weigh up the pros and cons of what's going on. But there's always a negative thing. At some point, continuing to get stronger and bigger and take steroids and all of that, the negative stuff starts to outweigh you. And we could objectify it into things like your left ventricle gets thicker. And all of a sudden your heart's working harder. And then all of a sudden your life expectancy is going backwards because your heart's literally doing double the amount of work every single day. So at some point there is a tipping point where you're strong enough and fit enough. But you'll always have to keep chipping away at maintaining that because you will, principle of regression, you will lose it if you don't use it. So just do enough.
Wonderful.
And I think the enough is probably the health guidelines of
Everything.
Just the general health guidelines that the governments actually say are probably pretty accurate. A couple of days a week of some cardio to get your heart rate up. A couple of days a week of some good strength training progressively. Eat some protein for once in your life. Eat some fiber. Don't have too much KFC. Use it as a treat.
That's
the general,
not true.
The general shit
that's
kind of works.
That's
yeah. The general.
That's big health trying to just rob me of joy.
Yeah,
So I
big
stay like a
KFC.
cog in the machine.
Mac.
I've been asking, and I will for as long as we have this podcast, any allied health that come on, of the entire population that walk into.
I'm not allied health, by the way, but yeah.
I'm going to ask you for a
All right.
reason. Of the entire population that walk into a physio, or chiro, osteo's office with pain, what percentage would not be walking in there if they just did 2 to 3 days in the gym?
I couldn't even tell you because you can get into the subjective world of pain, and I would say what's probably more important for the pain presentation is their understanding of pain, their expectation of what's about to happen as they walk in that door, and their self-awareness of why they may be presenting in pain. If those levels were higher, we would have better outcomes, but they're not the ones. And good physios and stuff are always educating around those things, expectations and of the journey and what's happened and the education around that and all of that. How much of that falls within strength training? I think there's a good part of it that falls within good movement and good strength training, but I think it's a smaller portion than most people would.
So what percentage, considering what you just said?
20%.
20%, because you hold those...
The other stuff's way more important.
Interesting. Fuck, I really like that answer.
And the reason why I don't like talking about pain and I try to avoid it, and it takes you 6 weeks in the mentorship for one conversation, can we talk about pain a little bit? And I'm like, and I've made 2 slides out of, I think I've made 400 slides for intake 1. 2 slides are on pain and how to manage pain within clients is because pain is so subjective, we don't actually know what's going on. We're trying to work out those answers, but currently the industry across the board has a bunch of narratives that have circulated the pain presentation and why people are in pain. And the narratives are incorrect. The objective truth around pain, we don't have that much information on. So we have to narratize the stuff we don't know, and eventually those narratives, 99% of them will be false. One of the narratives will get truer, and then that one will become false. And then the new narratives, and over time we update our ideas. But the research on strength training and exercise for pain is actually not really any stronger than passive stuff. It's a little bit of a dark hole.
I'd like to read that.
And the narratives that wrap around strength training are not actually the objective outcomes of getting stronger, fitter, and all of that. It is the confidence of I'm capable to do things. I need to continue my life and be proactive. The whole idea of focusing on the donut, not the whole. Like that analogy of like what's available to me right now. What can I do? Focus on that. Focus subjective. And over time, the presentation changes. But the research doesn't support strength training and active modalities as aggressively as the narratives will create.
But they're the most important bit.
I think the confidence that comes with focusing on the things you can do and not focusing on the shit that you can't do is important. I think that's the truest narrative that we have right now. And that rides in strength training. So strength training is still a positive vessel.
Interesting.
If you want to learn more about that, Dr. Jared Powell from Queensland, the shoulder physio on Instagram, he's made a post yesterday. He's 73,000 words into his PhD. Once it's done, he's like, I can't wait to tell you the things I've learned. He's like, I'm going to get back into content. That's one of the ones that I'd recommend learning from. The other one would be Greg Lehman, Lehman, would be the two guys that I'd recommend learning more about that stuff. It's not as clear cut that exercise is the better option than the passive stuff.
But as you were saying, I remember Jared Powell on the podcast, and then you were like, "There's things that come along for the ride with
exactly.
strength
You
training."
get more positive outcomes. The decision to do strength training has a few extra positive things attached to it. You're more active. You might lose weight, which is a part of pain. Your metabolic health might improve, which is a part of pain. By going the strength training route, you might decide, actually, I'm going to fix my nutrition, and all of a sudden you're eating better. All of that comes for the ride of a good, well-structured program. Going to get a massage every 3 weeks doesn't get any of that stuff. So there's more positive things wrapped around, but it's not strength training itself, if that makes sense.
Could you, when you start to understand strength training, then you realize it's all just recovery, just stimulating something you need to recover from.
It's as much recovery.
Yeah, so you could also say, because people then go into the route of, I'm going to try sleeping better, and I'm going to try
it has more
eating
positive
better.
decisions that come along for the ride. And we've all experienced that as coaches. Like you get a client to start training more, and all of a sudden they want to eat better. I don't want to waste my time in here. What else could I do to improve this? Oh, actually, I want to get my sleep better.
Kegels.
1,000
Kegels a day.
And then it might turn into, now you've got a step goal and their overall metabolic health is improving. Like there's so many benefits of strength. I'm not saying don't do strength. I'm just saying that the decision is not around the strength or the movement. It's the riding things that come along
It's the friendships we make along the way.
It's the connections of that are probably more important. And more of it lives in the subjective world than people are ever going to. That bias, but the subjective world is all that matters.
So when I started to learn all this, and then I did you and Dan's Pain to Performance seminar.
Yeah, when was that?
These
are the things I can't even remember.
Really early on.
Yeah.
Like when... Yeah, like at the start. I wasn't doing internship yet.
Yeah.
I don't think. Anyway, and then I started to... What you shouldn't do, which is explain the full context of pain to someone. And Imogen, one of our good friends, was experiencing back pain at the time, and she couldn't train with me. And I started just explaining everything that I was learning each week and blah, blah, blah. And probably a one-off, it had the effect. She goes, "No, my back pain's not real." And then it just went away.
Placeboed it.
Yeah, she's like, and if it comes up a little bit, she's like, "Nah, that's not real."
Yeah.
And then it'll go away again.
Yeah.
And then she came into an appointment with Dan. Dan's like she sits down, and then Dan's like, "Now, I know Dylan thinks I'm a wizard, but I'm not." And then started but anyway, that was funny. So,
It's all narrative.
Yeah.
She went from context for that. She went from would sometimes to be bedridden with back pain.
Yeah.
To just gone. It wasn't just my back's a little bit sore. It's literally couldn't get out of bed, and it's just...
Yeah. I got a little motto that attitude matters, dude. And just changing your attitude to something. Fundamentally, just every time you have a negative, just fuck off and change your attitude. That actually matters. Just little things like that are huge. And it's just something that I always have to remind. Attitude matters, dude. It just rhymes in my head. When I'm thinking a negative thing, or I think I'm not capable, or I'm fearful of something, no, change that. Be better.
Yeah. I like that.
Yeah, I like
like
that too.
Would you? This is going derailing again. What do you think if we had to compare two exercises? What do you think is going to be better out of the two, deadlifts or snatch?
Whichever one the client wants to do more.
No, but you specifically.
Me, fuck snatching. Why would you do snatching? It's too hard. Deadlifts.
No one calls you deadlift lad.
Snatch lad. Fucking now we're back. Yeah. How do you guys get snatch lad?
It's just what we've always called you.
Yeah, we just knew it.
Yeah, snatch lad.
Snatch lad.
Snatch lad was my first nickname at Woodford because I used to snatch every time. I wanted to learn snatching. So at that point in my life, snatching was more important.
Yeah.
And was a better thing.
That's so good.
Yeah.
But at this point in my life, fuck snatching, just deadlift.
Okay. Deadlift lad it is now.
Yeah.
Does anyone know Max Tuning?
No.
His name was Deadlift Bra for a bit. He's a YouTuber, an OG fitness vlogger.
If you have that name, you'd have to have a good deadlift.
It was good back then, but now it's like it's just one of those things that it's just like that was so fucking shit. Now that actual athletes are in this sport, wow, that was like
that's
terrible.
what social media, man. It's the old saying is like whatever. No matter how good you are, there's someone who's better.
Yeah,
You just go on social media. I've just seen like 16-year-olds like just deadlift like
wild.
200 kilos,
It's fucking
300 kilos, and you're just like, why do I even try?
wild.
People say they chase aesthetics. I'm not chasing anything. I'm running away from 15-year-olds who are going to get bigger than me in 1 year of training. Like, that's why I train, to run from them.
It's fucking wild.
Who's
It's
got?
going to get getting worse.
It's just-
It's going to just...
I wish I started lifting during my mini, like, natty steroid cycle. Like,
Oh, yeah.
the
when
way
you're
your
like
test
16,
just
yeah.
jumps in puberty,
When
and
did
it's
you
just
start?
like... When did I really start?
Yeah.
Like, when did I start? I mean, like, I mucked around on machines, I think maybe from 15 or 16 for like a week
Yeah.
with Dad, because we both got a gym membership. But that never was consistent. I probably took it more serious from like 18, but then like, there's so much knowledge available now. Do you know what I mean? Like, the dumbest person in most gyms would be so much smarter than the smartest person in gyms, like...
I don't agree.
in public gyms where
Don't
there's
agree.
no I don't know, like, because back when I trained, like when I was 18 years old, there was no how many grams of protein.
None of that shit
No one's
actually matters,
talking
though.
about that. It does though.
No,
it
it
does to
doesn't.
a degree.
Go back to the Arnold era. They were fucking jacked. They were strong. They were big.
But they did a whole chicken a day.
Doesn't matter. They were big, strong. They had the outcome.
Yeah.
I think-
I'm not saying.
Back to the very start of the podcast, I said the most important thing is to make it as frictionless as possible. If you tell a client to just eat a whole chicken across the day, and that's the easiest thing for them, you don't have to educate around protein, you don't have to educate, but it's just simple, they can do it. That's, I think, more important.
Yep. I do agree. I 100% agree with that.
So we have more information, but are we actually any better at applying it?
I think
has the health outcomes of the population improved in the last 30 years, or have they regressed? Even with more information, they've regressed. None. We're not.
Would you
better
say
at
though?
outcome.
I would say, man, that's such a good question, because I would say, but I think there's more teens training now. I think
but they're
more
just doing the
teenagers
same
train
shit
now.
we did
Yeah,
as
no. But
teenagers.
that's what I was going to say. Is I'd say I think I see more jacked teens now, but there's also just more teenagers training now. So it's like it's hard to know.
Yeah.
I would think the information just gives us more avenues to make it more frictionless for the client. That's what it
Absolutely.
provides us.
'Cause you got more tools in your box.
Yeah, 100%.
I don't think that the overall population is any better than where it was. I would say it's worse. And it's not. It's not.
Why do you think it's worse?
Well, there's health outcomes, higher population of higher incidence of obesity.
If we look within the gym, though, is it better or worse?
I don't think I have a good view of it because I have been isolated to these four walls for so long.
Yep, fair.
People will literally come in and be like, I saw this at a fucking commercial gym. They send me a video. Or something. I'm like, fucking, that shit's still going out because I'm in this world where everyone knows what the fuck's going on. I've got 170 members that all know exactly
It's
what.
polarizing as well.
And I just don't
Yeah.
have. I don't think I could because I'm not in it anymore.
Just because young people know more, that's like a particular group. Whereas overall, people are getting more unhealthy.
Yeah, and I think the big thing, and again, I go through this with training model. We have the answers. We've had them for decades. The application is improving, but if we, in the process of learning more, make it more confusing and lose the forest for the trees or whatever the fuck that analogy is, if in the process of gathering more information, you make it harder for your client to actually understand and apply, you're doing the wrong thing. Go back to the basics. You always should be coming back to it should be as simple as possible to understand. It should be as simple as possible to apply. The whole process of health and fitness should be simple. Doesn't matter if you're training elite powerlifters or first person ever to step foot in the gym. Day one, I want to lose 10 kilos. It doesn't matter. It's the simplicity of the process is all that matters. Having more information doesn't change the simplicity.
Are you trying to suggest that my 2-hour lecture on why stretch-mediated hypertrophy doesn't work for the triceps is not like relevant?
It's like I think the industry, because of social media and ultimately because of the evidence-based era that we just went through, where everyone was asking for a PMID and all of this, where's the support of all of that? It's like, does any of this shit actually matter, or is it all that matters actually just getting the client to rock up, train hard, and go to sleep and eat the right amount of food?
I'd just like to say I'm feeling a bit nihilistic right now, but
Well,
I'll come back out.
But
Mood
no,
check?
but
Mood
this
10, mood, I'm sweating.
this leads me. This is a question I think we wanted to ask you. I think we actually forgot to write down, or at least I wanted to ask you, because you say all that, but then what's if that is all true? Why should I do your movement mentorship? Why should I learn all this shit?
Because you're interested in the weeds.
But like, does it benefit my clients?
Absolutely, because you know what's now in the weeds.
And
You're no longer confused
I'm
with
losing
what's
it
in the
right
weeds. You now know that all those people that are in the weeds are not actually talking about anything crazy. I now understand what they're all on about, which means I don't have to doubt myself when saying, hey man, just don't shift to the front of your foot. You can just come back to a very simple, well understood idea and no longer be confused with all of these people that are out there spouting these magical things, because you spent time in the weeds. And this is something that I put on my stories the other day. Keep the weeds in your head. The client's experience needs to be a freshly mowed grass of understanding and application. They don't need weeds in front of them. But in your head, I've been in the weeds for 12 years on all this shit. In your head, my fucking head is full of weeds. I got weeds everywhere. I got plants I never even fucking knew about. I'm trying to work this shit out. What the fuck's going on? How does this thing work? Blah, blah, blah. My head's confusing as fuck. But in the client's experience, because my head's confused, it's very simple for them. And that's why I think it's important to go and actually jump in whatever guru you decide to go and learn from. But learn their weeds so you're no longer confused by their weeds. Because the confusion starts the narrative, which then starts the misapplication, which then starts the friction for the client. Everyone's more confused. No one's fitter. No one's healthier. Everyone hurts. What's going on? That's why I should do the mentorship.
Great.
But there are truisms. It's like what you said about pain. The wrapping, what the client expects is so much more important, but there are truisms of movement, coaching, all this sort of stuff.
Technique.
And I think we're in I'm going to make it a bit abstract right now, but as Nietzsche said, God is dead.
Yeah.
Meaning we've lost our values.
Absolutely. That is a wild thing to think about.
Yeah, so...
And how much of the world's problems now are actually because we've killed the value system.
And then we're all getting stuck in narratives. And we've lost the underlying truths. Yeah, so... And JP rags on about this. Like, the world is too much to comprehend and understand. And we need those underlying...
They give us a framework.
Yeah, it's not just because it's a framework. The holy and the beautiful thing about it is that it is the truth.
Yeah.
So it's like, how do we find... And coaching's weird, man. Coaching's such a weird job.
Weird. You just frame it from coaching.
Yeah.
The whole life process is really weird.
Yeah.
We just value, as in the Western society, our career so much, and we think it's isolated to coaching, but it's not. It's very... coaching is a vessel of life. Our careers are a vessel of life. It's not just coaching. It's all the decisions we make to have an impact and help people. Yeah. We covered some ground, boys.
This is exactly where I wanted it to go.
This has been fantastic.
But also, internal rotation is really important.
yeah.
But that's why, yeah. Do my mentorship if you can.
Can I haven't done...
I can guarantee we'll cover different areas that you probably weren't expecting.
I haven't done my testimonial for you right now, so I'm just going to look in the camera and do it for you.
Can you cut it for me and then give it to me?
I will. If you are a coach out there, allied health, physio, anyone like that, do the movement mentorship, because it will give you such a relieving feeling and confidence in your coaching and how the human body moves. and I will also give you a public apology if you do it and think that it doesn't make everything better and more simple. It's just like it should be 101. It should be the first thing that people learn. And if you have already learnt from Jamie, which I've said this before, you should still do it because I've learnt a whole bunch as well. And then I came in and it was very, it was consolidated and it was like direct and it was even more hard hitting to learn it.
I've purposely tried to fine tune the delivery of it. That's what the last
was
2
wicked.
Yeah,
It was good.
I think I've nailed
And it's
it.
like, how many weeks was it? It's not
6
like
weeks.
a freaking 16 week.
6 weeks. Because every time I did 10 and 12 weeks, the retention just dropped at the end. I was like, what am I doing? Make it shorter. Make it harder hitting. Make it more like, all right, I've got to stay up to date.
Make it 6 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
So
like
thank
that
you.
as well. It's
Yeah.
good.
What-
It's just like, do this, bam.
And then the wormhole's there if you want to fucking
Yeah.
Here's like a question. Sorry, and then we can wrap it up. Why don't unis teach what you're teaching?
Because university is not an education business. It is
agreed.
It's a money making process.
Yeah.
Universities are some of the oldest businesses in the world. Cambridge in I think it's Cambridge in the UK is
Older
like
than-
600 years old or something.
It pre-exists the existence and
America.
extinction of the Aztecs.
Yeah, something.
It's
like
something like that.
It's older than America. That's the one I always come back to. Some of these universities are older than what America has been able to do in the last, 400 years, or whenever that 1660s or whatever. Like, think about how big the economic fucking value of America is. There are universities around the world that teach things that have been businesses for longer than that, of what's been about, and the impact that has had on, like, these universities. They're not actually...
When you explain that to someone, you're like, universities are just trying to make money off you. They're not just like some overarching
not
like
a bad
force
thing.
of good. No,
Yeah.
it's not. They have to make money.
Nah,
How
it
would they
is a bad
exist?
thing.
No, it's not. But
It's shit.
Nah, it's just that I think that we all went to uni. Did you do uni?
Nope.
No. We went to... Did you do uni? Yeah, we went to uni to work out sports science.
No, I did business entrepreneurship.
Me too, and I dropped out after three sessions. Well, we went to uni, sports science people went to uni to work out the sports science stuff, and that's what they teach. They don't teach it for application to coaching, and this is why all the coaches are like, fuck university, and I'm also like that. Like, if you want to be a PT, you don't need a sports science degree, but if you want to go down the route of doing actual education-based things within the industry of doing some research, maybe going into like a higher grade that requires a degree of a physiotherapy, osteo, whatever it might be, exercise physiologist, all of that sort of, maybe using exercise health to get to medicine and getting across to that area. Like, if you want to do that, yeah, there's a stepping stone that requires that university level. But ultimately, like, university is not for application in the industry. University is to learn the fundamental sciences of what we know to be true around anatomy, physiology.
But then why are they so
neurology.
outdated?
Because it will cost too much money to change the curriculum. You have to update all of the people that have their biases that are teaching the thing. Half of them are going to crack the shits. They're going to leave. The new person coming in is going to cost you more because all of a sudden you have to pay them what they're worth, and it's just going to cost you. So it's easier just to keep the status quo and just let it roll.
Privatization, baby.
And that's why we still have the FMS being taught.
Well, this has been great. It's been fantastic. Do you want to plug yourself real quick? Anything?
Mentorship, that's it. Check out the gym if you want coaching, Melbourne Strength Culture. If you're a coach that wants to learn training model.
Yeah, I'll say Melbourne Strength Culture is someone who's like, I haven't been nearly as involved in it as Dylan has, but like, it's just epic to come here. It's a cool gym. That it is like, literally, the name is Strength Culture, Melbourne Strength Culture, but like, there's something special about the culture here. It's sick to check out. The people here are awesome. Like, I've been to some of the powerlifting meets here. Don't do anything around powerlifting really, like apart from training my clients with basic stuff. But it's just cool to be here. It's just it's something you want to be a part of. You just come here and you're like, I want in on this.
Yeah.
So,
and I think we're about to 10x that whole feeling, like just because of the journey I've been on. But
more kissing, lots more kissing.
we've refocused our direction to something that I think is more productive for the impact that we can have.
They've got a painting of Ziz on the wall. If that's not enough to make
We're
you want
about
to
to
come,
Mate, beliefs.
We're
Yeah.
about to get Left Cutter on which is a beach in fucking Greece, a huge thing downstairs in that fucking room. All the Greeks are like, let's get Greece on the wall. So I said, all right, we get a beach. So we're going to get a huge beach painting on the wall.
Hell yeah.
we just try to have fun.
it's for the people.
Yeah.
So, Yeah, definitely worth checking out.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you for the
Thank-
kind words on the testimonial. Thank you for the kind words on Strength Culture. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for joining.
We're back, baby.
Yeah.
We are back. Like,
Yeah,
literally,
we're back.
Hang on,
you
mood
and
check.
our
Has
podcast.
anyone made it to 2.5 hours in here? But
No.
mood check.
Oh, 10.
10.
10, but I really need to pee.
I'm back to 9 now.
Yeah.
I'm back
My
on
my
9.
bladder's like a 10 out of 10, so.
Ciao. Thank you very much.